Is your current hi-fi system a bunch of shit? How do you know? Well, today I'm going to tell you about the tracks that I use, my test tracks to determine the performance of my hi-fi system and its associated products. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk about my 10 favorite test tracks for evaluating gear on my YouTube channel. My little desktop tripod stand, it's missing a foot. Rocks back and forth. Is this annoying? I bet it is. All right. So there are some tracks that I keep going back to over and over again because I'm listening for specific things in the music. My process is I get a speaker in or I get an amplifier in and I usually listen to these 10 tracks. Your tracks may be different, but I did make a playlist on Amazon Music. That's going to be linked in the description. I also put a link in there for a free trial to Amazon Music if you don't have it and you want to try it out. I'll put a Tidal playlist down there too and a link to Tidal. Both of these links are affiliate links, which means if you click and you sign up for a free trial, I do get a commission. I get a little bit of money from it, but it doesn't cost you a thing. And you can cancel it anytime you want to. Let's get into it. Alanis Morissette, King of Pain, which is a Police cover. That song has a ton of shibboleth in it. And if you have a speaker or even piece of electronics that tends to be a little bit sibilant or exacerbates this shibboleth, you'll know for sure. What sibilance is the sh and the ch just sound a little bit unnatural. I find that speakers are the component that usually exacerbates it or mitigates it. But I have actually listened to a phono preamp that had terrible sibilance. And it's the first time I'd ever listened to a piece of electronics that I was like, ooh, wow. So your electronics, your amps, your preamp, maybe even your DAC, can lean a little bit sibilant. So if you are getting a lot of sibilance from that song, that means your speaker is probably got a bump around the 4 to 6K range. If it doesn't jump off the page at you that it's sibilant, then it probably means your speaker is a little bit dipped at the 4 to 6K range. There's benefits to both. A speaker that has a 4K to 6K dip is going to play bad recordings better. A speaker with a 4 to 6K rise or even flat is going to give you more clarity into the music. Intergalactic by the Beastie Boys. Great song. So you can use this song for a couple of things. Bass punch, impact, and also soundstage and imaging. At the beginning of well, pretty much the whole song, you're going to be able to hear the bass slap. Like you're down at Pike's Place Fish Market in Seattle and they're throwing around a big old salmon, big old tarpon, but they slip and it hits you in the face. That's the type of bass slap I'm talking about. But also in that song, you can test your soundstage and imaging because there's these little that are floating around. The bass slap hit comes in around 125 hertz. Most speakers roll off way below that, but I've found that certain speakers, maybe they have a little bit of a oomph in the 100 hertz range, are going to feel like it's a bigger speaker. If you want the utmost in neutrality, you've got a little speaker and you're hearing a big punch at that 125 hertz range, probably means that it's boosted in that range. If you don't feel a lot of impact, that probably means you have a fairly neutral speaker. If you're into rock and roll, if you're into a little bit of a V curve, if you like punch on the bottom, sparkle on the top, then that part of the song needs to be obvious to you. Lena Hall, Creep. I believe she is an opera singer, but she also does a bunch of records where she covers a lot of rock songs, like famous rock songs. Anyway, this is her cover of Creep by Radiohead. That song's probably been covered over 100 times. However, there is something about this one for me. She goes from very breathy, very almost smoky in her presentation to just belting out the song with a little bit of gravel. And then she comes back down very delicate. At the 207, 208 mark, she really goes up. But everything basically after 2 minutes and 20 seconds, she is just nailing it. Now, there can be a little bit of resonance in your speakers. To be fair, I think she's legit clipping the microphone, maybe? I'm not sure. It's not completely clean even on the best of systems, but if you hear things really start to fall apart after 220, that means that there's some type of resonance going on in your speaker. If it can handle that part at around 80 dB or higher, it means you've got a pretty composed speaker. Hurt by Johnny Cash, his cover of a 9 Inch Nails song. His voice is very baritone. If it's not thick and syrupy, it means probably the 250 hertz to 300 hertz range is a little bit recessed. If it's super thick and you can't hear a lot of detail, it probably means the 200 to 300 hertz is a little bit boosted in your speaker. But when I'm listening to flat speakers, you should have warmth in his voice. Also, that song is recorded very forward with him. If he's in line with the band or even slightly further back from the band as far as soundstage and imaging, that probably means that there is a big dip in the 200 to 300 hertz area. So you're looking for clarity in his voice, you're looking for how much baritone is in his voice, and you're looking at where he's at as far as the soundstage. Nina Simone, Sinnerman. Man, this song has been used in a lot of movies. Anyway, at the beginning of the song, there's hi-hat, 16th notes. Now, I played the drums in high school. Not very well. But I know what a hi-hat sounds like. On some speakers, I'm going to say Emotiva speakers, that part in the song is just brilliant. You can hear every part of that hi-hat. On a lot of aluminum dome speakers, like the SVS Prime series, the older SVS Ultra series, they did a great job. The KLH Model 5, I believe, also did a great job because of that aluminum dome tweeter. Klipsch speakers with their titanium dome tweeters do a really good job. However, if you have a soft dome tweeter and you're still getting that real crisp sound, means you got a pretty good speaker. There's also an aspect of the hi-hat, there's a little bit of weight, tangibility to it. And for me, that's also treble area. But if you hear the crisp pop, the stick hitting the cymbal, it also means you probably have some extension in the treble, which I love. It's air, baby. There's certain things that we may not be able to hear like outright, but I think our brain is still processing the information because I don't hear super well above like 15K. Great track to test out your treble. Wouldn't it be a list without a song from Metallica? That song is Harvester of Sorrow. There's a lot of offbeat cymbal hits with that song. When I listen to that song, I am listening for, do the cymbals sound like cymbals or do they sound like white noise piped in at the right frequency at the right time? If you can kind of draw out and you can kind of visualize the actual hit hitting the cymbal, and now we're talking about cymbal decay as well, because it's not on a hi-hat that's brief. This is and it hangs out for a little while. So if you can't hear differences in those cymbal crashes, now they're very subtle, but if you can't hear differences in those cymbal crashes, probably means the tweeter in your speaker, not very good, or it's not as good as it could be. There's also a part in that song at the beginning, and this is kind of just like instrument separation, where there's just a that kind of just grows over time. And if you can hear that and it's separated out from the music, that means you have good instrument separation on your speaker. Steve Winwood, Higher Love. The whole intro to that song is nothing but percussion. There's some rim shots. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Again, though, you can start to hear how good your speaker is on the top end with the initial attack. The air, the decay of each hit. There's a point where I believe there's a bit of a mistake, kind of like it went very subtle, but if you hear that, that means, again, you have really good instrument separation. But if this is all sounding super realistic in the room, you may say, it means you have good timbre, it means you have good instrument separation, it means you have good treble, and you have good decay. Hans Zimmer, Why So Serious, from one of the Batman movies, the one with Joker in it. Anyway, 3 minutes, 30 seconds, it just drops out. But it doesn't just drop out because it's super low frequencies. So normally you're only going to be able to hear this with a subwoofer or a full range speaker. So if the music just goes away at 330, it means you don't have a speaker that can handle super deep notes. I have no idea what frequency it's at, but it's very low. That's all there is about that song. Narcissistic Cannibal by Korn off the Path of Totality album. I love this song. At the 1 minute mark, the bass goes boom, boom, goes way down. I don't know what frequency it's at. It's not super low. I think it's actually like 40 hertz. But if you can't hear that on your speaker, it means your speaker doesn't go down very far. The cool thing is, even on speakers that have a higher low frequency roll off, if it's a smoother roll off, you're going to hear that part of the song better than if it's a speaker that has a bit of a bump around 80 hertz and then falls off more steeply. Personally though, I like a bit of a bump because I'm hearing the majority of that music as far as the punch aspect. Most of the times, to really hear this part, you're gonna need a subwoofer. Most bookshelves can't handle it. Frankly, most floor standing speakers can't really handle that part either. So if you want to test the bass on your speaker, check out the 1 minute mark of Narcissistic Cannibal by Korn. If you want to check out all of these playlists, they're going to be in the description. Also links to Tidal and Amazon. Again, those are affiliate links, but you can try out the services for free. I just got back from Italy, and you should really check out this video about Gold Note. It is an awesome company. It was an awesome trip, and personally one of the best videos I think I've made. Check it out here. Thank you for watching.